know, I'm not the best public speaker. I'm great at fighting in a courtroom with 10 fat-headed jurists. But what I did here was when you said, will this sign or would these signs change one juror's mind? And I have to tell you that you can't help every day that you're walking into the courts to see a community of people out there holding these signs, talking to the news, sitting in the jury, sitting in the courtroom every day, surrounding the family, all day, every day, and not have it touch you, not have it affect you, and not have you realize that there's something special. That this isn't normal, and this isn't something that just anybody gets. So, for that reason, I did have to come up and say something. This is important. But beyond that, one of the stories I was telling a gentleman outside was when we all first went into the courtroom for our garde à vue to be asked questions to find out if we could be on a jury, I didn't even know what Dr. Al-Arian looked like. And I told one of the people next to me that I didn't know what he looked like. He said, I'll point him out when we go into the room. And we did. He sat down, he goes, that's Dr. Al-Arian. And I saw this very large black man with no neck, very intimidating and very scary. And I said, oh, is that Dr. Al-Arian? He said, no, 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 it's the man next to him. And I saw Dr. Al-Arian and I said, he looks like a teacher. And the guy next to me said, he is a teacher. And I just thought, I felt really bad when I said that because I immediately just went to the thing that I saw and let some
what do you
prejudice...
What did you think when you saw his attorney?
I thought he was a terrorist. I thought he was... I'm sorry, and it's something that's inside of you that you just can't get out of, but it's important that you realize that we have to go with the thing. We have to take those things out of our minds. We have to not look at something and make judgments. But we also have to remember the things that we see, like communities that are taking care of people. And when we went into our jury room for the first vote, the first minute we were in there, and we decided to take our first vote, they pointed to the first person, and they said, how do you vote? And she said, I don't know, I need to hear more. And then they went around the room, and it was 10 guilties and 1 not guilty. I'm proud to say I was the 1 not guilty. And we went through and we did several charges and voted on it, and it became 10-2 or 3 to 9. But after it was all over with and we were getting ready to leave, the juror in the beginning that said, I want to hear more, came up to me. She said, how strong do you feel about Dr. Al-Arian being innocent? I said, I don't know, because I really haven't seen or heard everything. It was kind of boring sometimes, and my mind would wander. And I would sit and think if I left my coffee maker on that morning. And I said, I'm hoping if we sit and we talk and there's any information out there that I missed, they'll share it with me, and then I'll know. And she said, well, I kind of did spend as much time as I could listening and paying attention. She goes, I don't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. And in the days that we had talked about the charges, nobody was able to come up with anything that made me think any differently than I did when I walked in there. In fact, I found out that even though my mind wandered, I was probably one of the more literate people in there as far as the facts that were going on. And so she just turned to me and she said, listen, if you be my rock, I will be your rock. If you don't crumble, I won't crumble. We'll lean on each other. And we did. And for 2 weeks, we fought and screamed and yelled and pounded on tables and said some things to each other from me, which I'm ashamed of, but also from the other people, which were very hurtful. But we fought, and we stood by each other, and we protected each other, and we did everything we could to make sure that we stayed strong. And a community has to do that, and your community did that. Your church did that, your community did that, your people did that, and that's so important. And we need to teach our children that it's important. Sometimes one voice screaming in a jury room is enough, but sometimes you have to be a larger group. Sometimes you have to march over bridges and through cities. And sometimes you have to hold signs on street corners. But we all have to do our part, and we all have to support each other, and we all have to let each other know that we're there for them, and we have to help them. Because really, in all honesty, it does have an effect. It really does. Okay? Thank you.